going to see that handshake, but what we are going to see is a spirited debate and perhaps the most consequential general we've ever seen. Because
hey, what did you say?
Almost certainly
this is
going to be the last
TV,
one.
right?
It's
So
must-see
with
TV.
the stakes so high, the presidential
Everybody,
debate
y'all
just
should be
moments
tuned
away.
in to us.
We have the entire
At least
news
watch it.
division
Come on to
keeping an
this
eye on
side. Let's
everything.
go.
We're going to be fact-checking on our live blog. It's all going to be happening right here. The debate now just 10 seconds away, and we will be back with our post-game show as soon as it's over. We are going to toss
clear the
right
smoke.
Now.
Let's go.
David Muir,
come on.
Yeah.
Tonight, the high-stakes showdown here in Philadelphia between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Their first face-to-face meeting in this presidential election, their first face-to-face meeting ever.
A historic race for president upended just weeks ago. President Biden withdrawing after his last debate. Donald Trump now up against a new opponent.
The candidates separated by the smallest of margins, essentially tied in the polls nationally and in the key battlegrounds, including right here in Pennsylvania, all still very much in play. The ABC News presidential debate starts right now.
This is an ABC News special, the most consequential moment of this campaign. Kamala Harris.
Together, we will chart a new way forward.
All right. All right.
We will soon be a great nation again.
Face to face, historic.
Let's
the
go.
ABC News presidential debate. Here now.
2024. We've been waiting for this, man. Let's see what's happening.
Yes.
Good evening. I'm David Muir, and thank you for joining us for tonight's ABC News presidential debate. We want to welcome viewers watching on ABC and around the world tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage in this unprecedented race for president.
And I'm Lindsay Davis. Tonight's meeting could be the most consequential event of their campaigns, with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice President Kamala Harris, this is her first debate since President Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate. 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks. No topics or questions have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock. That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight in this hall at the National Constitution Center. This is an intimate setting for 2 candidates who have never met.
President Trump won the coin toss. He chose to deliver the final closing statement of the evening. Vice President Harris selected the podium to the right.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and President
What a ref
Donald
said.
Trump.
What a ref said.
They could at least put some music or something.
Yeah. Let's shake hands.
Kamala
Let's
Harris.
go.
Let's have a good debate.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their #1 issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation has, which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going
hitting hard
violently.
right now.
These are the people
true.
that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this
You
debate.
tied it all into one
I would like
answer.
to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst
That was with COVID
epidemic
Come on
in a
now.
century. Donald Trump left
You might
us
have to respond
the
to that.
worst
Let's see.
attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear
Shout out
from
Wonder
the same
Woman.
old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Let's
Number
go.
one, I
Let's
have
see what he
nothing to do,
says.
as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died. Has there been anything like it? We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back, and it went to their benefit.
Yeah.
But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So
That's true, man.
Let's
Donald
go.
Trump
Let's
has
go.
no
Let me
plan
see.
for you. And when
No
you look
plan.
at his
going
economic
back
plan,
and
it's all
forth.
about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy. And the best
Opportunity.
economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences
Oh,
that it
man.
just try and
Hey, come on now.
She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan.
I
She
looked
doesn't
at
have
it.
a plan.
Congregation, go to her
I
website.
do want to drill down on
Yeah.
something you
Yeah, I looked at it. I
the
compared
Vice
the two.
President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer.
Yeah.
Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else.
That is true.
The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place.
Why?
So how do you respond?
Come on, let's see.
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy, but if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And
she
will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years, they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe
at least he's saying that stuff right there.
Also, 85% of Republicans do exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it.
I appreciate
and I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's
after
born.
9 months. Now, I don't like that part right there.
To President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that
That's
make
not
no
federal,
exception even
that's
for rape
state.
and
Yeah,
incest,
yeah,
which
yeah.
understand what
focused.
that means.
Okay.
A
We got you.
survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with
The
women
states are.
around
Get
our
it?
But that's
country.
states. Okay.
You
We
want to talk
states.
about this is
Yeah.
what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that.
He
And
already
I
explained
pledge
all
to you,
this.
He did.
when
He just did.
Congress
That's why I
He
said
just
I
explained
appreciate
this.
that.
to
I know.
put back in
Hold
place
on.
the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025,
See?
there would be a national abortion
He's not part of it.
monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
see what he
Well,
gonna
there she
say.
goes again. It's a lie. I'm not
Come on.
signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue
said
has
the
now been
state.
taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national
that's
abortion
it.
ban if it
Well,
came
I
to your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of when they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free, but they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young
if it came across his
and
desk,
a lot of other people that had loans.
Why would
They
it come
can never
across his
get
desk?
disapproved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. So
That's
wonderful.
if
Let's
Congress
go to Congress,
and
do
the
it.
Senate, they all
The fact
voted
is
for it
that
too.
for
Yeah,
years, they
but
wanted
he's
to
saying,
get it
right,
out
they
of
would never do
Congress,
it
out of the
together.
federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is the woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America.
That part, I hate
and
when he
understand
says
what has
that. I
been
have to say
happening
that,
under
Diane.
Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working one or two jobs, who can barely
If you go
afford
to his
childcare
website,
as it is,
IVF, he
have to
supports it.
travel to another state, to get on a plane sitting next
Nobody
to
wants to do that.
strangers, to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, and that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization.
Go ahead. Hold on.
IVF,
Let him speak his
I have
stuff.
been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question, would you veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look
No,
at the
don't
governor,
say probably. That just
of Virginia. The governor of
Ooh.
Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now
Come
to
on,
immigration
man.
and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration.
Now it's a record
this
low.
past
Watch.
June, President Biden imposed tough new
Don't say
asylum.
that.
We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly.
Yeah, it's
But
dropped
my question
because
to you
what?
tonight is, why did the
Stop putting
administration
the
wait until
wall
6
up.
months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings.
You're right,
And
Wonder
let's
Woman.
say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
A former president
And
don't have
understand,
that
this
authority.
comes at a time
Well, VP.
where the people of our
It-
country
it
actually
happened,
need a
It
leader
happened.
who engages in solutions.
Still
who
don't have
actually
authority.
addresses
Hold
the
on.
problems at hand. But what we have in
Well,
the
you don't
former
got no-
president
you don't
is
got no
someone who
pull?
would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump,
let's
on that
let him
point, I want to
speak.
get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional
did.
agents
They
and
only
officers
did
on the
that.
border.
Please let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go.
Come on.
And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Shout out Wonder Woman.
And this is what's happening
Yeah,
in our country. And
Wonder
it's a
Woman did
shame.
say that.
As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
But the people on television saying their dog was eaten by the people that
citizens
went there.
saying this.
Again,
so now
the
you're
Springfield
saying
city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme.
You're gonna laugh.
You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them.
Now we got
fired
the
one
details.
person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier. So let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military. Yes. You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud. Just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for
that doesn't matter. Let's go.
National security crimes, economic crimes, election interference.
Talk about immigration.
Has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear,
congregation,
where each person stands
we need her to answer
on
the
the
question
issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing,
immigration,
which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of growth.
We pause? What's going on?
I don't know.
Something in the matrix. Come on.
There we go.
Frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me.
No,
every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
She never answered the question. That's what he should have honed in
on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political
but it's
enemies.
more rhetoric.
Someone
let him
who
respond.
has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice President
to stop
Harris,
him.
Thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
You got to let him respond, please. Come on.
Weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation
We do have a lot
that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
Come on.
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy.
Why did your position change?
The value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on longstanding work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, you're
well, first of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
She went out. Stay on the issue. Come on.
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing, so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get
environment,
to.
as
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay,
Let's
thank
see
you.
what
We
she
have
said.
an election in just 56 days.
Change it up.
And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis.
You know they finna go to
Mr. President, on
October
January
6th.
6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
Let's see what he
You
said.
just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar, remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America, they're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle, they took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
you. You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election.
He deflected.
Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up
That's
for a
my
speech.
problem
I said,
with
I
him.
think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th.
He deflected.
I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the president said, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law.
She's
and to
sounding
end
presidential.
and to end
No, man.
the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
Bloodbath.
Let's turn the page
means
on this.
what?
Let's not go back.
That's economic term.
Chart
Look it
a
up,
course
congregation.
for the future and not
Everybody
go
not gonna
back.
do that.
Economic course.
Let me just follow up here.
Let him talk. Let him
It
talk.
was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all. I said that sarcastically. You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures.
He brought it up. That was the question. I told you that was
the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls. And we have to have it. We have to have borders and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them Republican.
No judge looked at it
and said
they said we didn't have standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter. Because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline. And they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
How is he suppressing the vote?
Trump was
I don't understand
fired by
that.
81 million people. So let's be clear about that.
But he's
and
looking like
clearly
you're
he
a
is having
bully
a
on that
very
part.
difficult time
That's
processing
ridiculous.
that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders.
But that's
Victor
over
Orban,
with,
one of the most respected
She
men.
brought
They
it-
call
they
him a
brought it up.
strong man. He's a tough person.
But he still believes it. He
Smart.
still talks
Prime
on it,
Minister
though.
of Hungary.
Passionately.
They said, why is the whole world blowing
That's why he
up?
wants to
3
change
years
it.
ago, it wasn't.
Voter
Why is
IDs.
it
That's
blowing
what he
up?
wants to do.
He said, because
what it says
you
on his
need
website.
Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran,
this makes
she was
sense.
the first one to leave because she failed. And now
That's
she's
a threat.
running. I don't understand.
She's in the position
because
and didn't get voted in.
Do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now
Yes.
to the Israel-Hamas
voted in.
war and the hostages
doesn't
who are
matter. It's
still
too
being
short.
held.
It's too late.
Americans
It doesn't
among
matter.
them. Vice President
doesn't.
Harris, in December,
Now
you
it
said,
does.
quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how
good
it got
question.
here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end.
Yes.
It must end immediately. And the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist
Shout out to the
2 years
sororities.
from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely
That's a
not
strong
true.
statement.
I have
know, yeah.
my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
And she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Hey,
Oh man.
hey, congregation. I do like that.
The ABC News presidential debate.
That they're still allowing them to talk. You know, a little bit. They did on both parties. Letting their microphone, you know, increasing the volume. Now, I think both of them are deflecting on some questions. They both are. He's becoming a politician where he can talk around the question just like they can. Both of them did it. I do think they are being as fair as possible and not trying to cut him off. They did maybe asked him some questions to maybe to get more information, not to take a jab or whatever. But the commentator right now is fine with me. I don't think they're showing a big bias. What do you think, Kane?
I think that, you know, I always like to stick to the facts, and that's why and I just want to make it honest. And I told you about this earlier, man. I said earlier today, I said, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a fair shot. Let me go to both of their websites and just see the plan. I know a lot of people probably even on this live or whatever haven't even went to the website and just checked out what they actually saying versus what they're saying at these rallies or whatever. But what kind of policies? And I looked at Kamala's, and it was a lot of not being specific, saying that these certain things and bringing back the middle class and stuff like that, but bringing back the middle class with only newborn $6,000 credit.
Yes.
I mean, what about people like us that are middle class that don't have a newborn or anything like that? What does it
better have a baby? You better have a baby.
As soon as you get in office, go ahead and have that baby, right? So that it's kind of crazy. And then I went over there to Trump's site, and he has it, kind of like numbered all the way down of the different things, but then he has a link to a PDF that each number is a table of contents, and then he explains the commitment and how he's going to do it, each one. So I'm like, why we can't get that from Kamala?
Well, Kane, I would just say this, and not giving
just
excuses.
To be specific.
Yeah, I would say this only because he had more time, because he knew he was running and everything.
She was running with doggone Biden.
I know, but look,
remember,
look.
we forget.
I think all of her policies, she had to pretty much maybe take from some of the things that Biden already had, because it's just a short period of time to have every point that she wants to take control of herself. So I think she did grab some of the things, and it might be scattered right now. You said he was listed 1, 2, 3, all and so forth.
All the way down.
All the way down. Yeah,
yes.
Well, he knew he was running for president. She was running. They was just running for re-election.
She was running for vice president, the second term, right?
For vice president, yeah. But when you're doing the vice president, your point, like he said one thing in that commentary, the person asked President Trump. She said, "Well, Vance, he said this right here. What did he say? I haven't spoken with him. He's welcome to his opinion, and that's fine." Well, she's just starting this herself, so I don't think she will have everything just laid down the line.
Look, we ain't got time. We ain't got time. I'm just saying, like, you got to go ahead and get 24 hours, do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Man, having a baby for a tax credit.
It is a tax credit. It is. Let's go.
That's what I'm saying.
Let me get 4 more. Yeah.
That's how you get the money, right? But and I guarantee you won't get that money if you're above a certain income bracket.
Yeah.
So it ain't for everybody. It's for a certain selected few. And that's what people are looking at or whatever.
But one of my things, like, I'm hitting on both parties, but one of my things, I just wanted the former President Trump to take some, and we have a disagreement in this, some type of ownership for the 6, and then it'll be done for
why
me.
You want him to say I'm not? I wouldn't. He
said he didn't do anything.
I wouldn't do that. Yes, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't.
I think he should. I think
no,
he should,
because you want somebody.
Welcome back to this historic
ABC
News presidential
debate. We'll get back into it. Congregation, y'all can put something in the comments, man.
And
let us know what y'all think. I know we got a few on here. It has been
the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's, where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here.
They threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
You don't need to have no winner. You don't need to have no winner.
We have to stop.
You know, they right there, they trying to tie him into. I want him to ask her the same question. Ask her the same question
on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as commander-in-chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Ask him the same
Well,
question.
first of all, it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strong men instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief. And the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate.
Let's go.
I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that
Let's see what she said. Like you.
Let's see what I know.
Well, I will tell
she
you,
should take some
responsibility.
responsibility. Come on.
Decision to pull out of Afghanistan.
Let's see what she says.
4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world. The first time this
Answer
century.
the question, please.
But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not, again, appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying
thank you.
began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So
let's see.
If you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as
I know
black.
this is a lot of emotional heartstrings
picture
on some of
question here
this.
tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read
that's it. You can't make them answer anything else. That's it.
That she put out.
Yeah.
And
don't say nothing else.
I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy.
Leave it alone too.
Someone
I know.
Just
leave it alone.
Who
Let's see
has
what she's
consistently over the course of his career
Let's go to the next question.
attempted to use race to divide the American people.
Talking about no divide.
You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was a
Central Park 5.
land. He owned land. He owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families.
Let's see what
Let's
he's going to say
remember,
on
this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New
know.
York Times calling
That's
for the
facts, though.
execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5.
You found that out later.
Took out a full-page ad. Calling
He
for
didn't
their
know at the
execution.
time.
This is the same
know, but
individual
Still
who
nothing.
spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone
see
who
what his
understands,
response
as I
will
do,
be.
I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me Can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
Golly, I wish you would have had a response.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park Five, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about my plan and let's compare the plans. I have a plan.
What is it?
To give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction.
I think we already need another debate.
Their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name calling.
Talk about whatever tax you need to do.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Let's turn to policy. Let's turn to
but you know they want to explain everything.
Trump,
let's turn to policy.
You can sum it up.
Fund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she has a plan
to
not allow
I don't believe that by no means.
Or anywhere else.
Okay,
that's what her plan is until just recently.
I just need to
President Trump.
the former president has said something twice that I need to respond to.
I'm sorry. We're gonna move on.
Go ahead, talk your stuff, Kamala, on this one.
This is now
Talk.
your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan? And can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare.
Again?
Uh-huh. They freezing it.
But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in this administration.
Keep
We
looking.
read
down,
about the
man.
bad ones. We had some real
I
bad
wanna
ones
say
too,
something.
and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just
That'd be
explain.
politically correct.
I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing, but it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included the private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, let's just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was
2025,
60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he
Get
got
to your
caught.
point.
He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions.
He's saying he's going to keep it until he finds something better.
Tonight, you remember what that was like?
She's saying she's going to use it.
Remember when an insurance company could deny
Hold on.
if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice President Harris,
in terms of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot of...
She made a mistake. At number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean
they got to hit this
point,
water.
Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has
Home
been
insurance.
the victim of
Yeah,
what that means in terms of
What is
losing
that?
their home,
talking about?
having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable, but we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates.
Wow.
An historic night, this
Kane, I'm
presidential
very
debate
surprised. Congregation, I'm surprised with this debate. I'm just surprised with it.
What are you surprised about?
I just think they're both they have their talking points, and I don't think they did well, either one of them. They keep repeating the same things. I wish the commentator would have them answer the question that we answered. They letting them both of them talk around it. I know that's what politicians do or whatever. And then I think Donald Trump has had some failed opportunities. And you know, I hate that, but that was failed opportunity where he should have hit her on some things. You know, I need you to answer this question. And she had some failed opportunities with him, letting him talk over some things. And then I would like for them to ask them both the same question. I mean, instead of letting them just go on and go on. I do like the fact that they are allowing them to, you know, when they deaden the microphone and they start talking on stage, they do give them the opportunity to say whatever they want to say. But she didn't take ownership of what happened in Afghanistan. She didn't take it. He didn't take ownership of just saying, you know, this happened on January 6th, and there was some bad events. I do take some accountability.
He didn't orchestrate it. He didn't orchestrate it.
Look, we would never agree on that.
The Biden-Harris orchestrated the withdrawal, right?
Yes.
All right, man. So you see what I'm saying? You see the difference?
I understand what you're saying, but who he said, let's go down there. Let's go down there. I don't care if he said peaceful,
that's what I'm saying.
Peaceful or not.
Who orchestrated? When you say
it doesn't matter who orchestrated. He knew it was happening.
It does.
Let me say this right here.
Man, you get your whole soliloquy. Can I talk? So think about this. Think about this. The Biden-Harris administration, they orchestrated the withdrawal of the Afghan troops, right?
100%.
Right?
Yeah,
the whole
yes. Overall.
Yes. It was a failure. And we know this. They won't take it, right? They won't take the blame, right?
Right.
Now, you're saying January 6th is Trump's orchestrated it.
I didn't
That's
say
what
he
you're
orchestrated
saying.
it. No, I didn't.
Well,
no.
How can you compare apples to oranges?
I said, look, I said he should take some ownership in it when he gave a speech.
Man, I won't take ownership for anything that somebody else
does.
You're
the leader. No.
It doesn't matter.
If you're giving
matter.
a speech and said, let's go down, if you're saying, let's do something, that's us, all of us. I'm going to be down there too. He wasn't present. Now, it's interesting because
you didn't even watch the speech. I sent it to you.
Look,
you didn't even watch it.
Look.
You didn't even
tell
watch
you this.
it.
Let me tell you this right here.
From the media. This is what everybody does. Congregation, in the comments, let us know, man, how y'all feel about this. Do y'all think Trump was orchestrated?
Don't say orchestrated. No, but he didn't orchestrate it. No, but he spoke.
Well, take blame. Should he take blame? According to Mitch,
some accountability
for it.
Some accountability. Yes, I think so.
What's the sum? 10%, 20%? What are you saying?
No. Just say I take some accountability for this. That would be good enough for me. It might not be good enough for anybody else.
I think
he should take
nothing.
To me,
nothing.
To me, it is so presidential. He and then I don't like, and now I've said this before, I don't like that he still continues to argue that the election was stolen from him. That should be a point that's non and void. We're not talking about that anymore.
He didn't bring it up. It was a question.
He did bring it up, but you can see that he still wholeheartedly believes in it.
He gonna stick with his guns. You don't stick with your guns,
Kane. We don't. He ain't
bring it up. Y'all brought it up.
I know.
Y'all brought it up. So once you bring it up, then yes, I'm gonna stick to my guns.
Hey, let me tell you something.
Come on, bro.
Just because you smiling, brother, I don't care about that right now. No, sir. Come on,
congregation. What y'all think, man? We got a few people on here, man. What y'all think? Closing words. Here we go. Yeah, here we go, man. Closing words. Guaranteed.
And Lindsay Davis.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares
We're not
about
okay
you
right
and
now.
is not putting themselves
and
first.
you VP.
I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on
You the
what we
VP.
can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump.
That was pretty good. Let's see what he
So
says.
she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that. And within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News.
He stuck to his guns, his base.
Here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
Congregation and family. I think their closing remarks was better than the whole debate. I mean, she looked really good in her closing remarks. He stuck to his guns.
She just repeated what this.
I know, but
that sounds good.
Yeah, I think she looked good. To me, she sounded good in her closing. And he just hit on the same things, we both know. I think right now, I think they need to debate it again. I don't know, because they both can judge. I don't think they really converted anybody. I don't think they converted. He stuck with his base. His base loves him. Her base likes her. I don't think they converted any new personnel.
I agree.
I mean, for real. What you gonna say, real quick?
Well, what I was gonna say is, I'm surprised they didn't bring up that
2025.
Yes. No. I'm talking
about wait.
Georgia school thing, and gun reform and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't do that. I'm surprised
we need another debate. We need
they didn't even talk about
American
that.
people need it. Yes.
Yeah, they were worried about ethnicity and who called black. He's like, I don't care what she is. I'm
glad he said that. He shouldn't have dignified that.
Yeah.
Do you feel as though the commentators were they fair and not?
I don't think they asked the same questions, because you just like you mentioned. I wish they would have gave the same question to Kamala.
Yes.
They wasn't doing that. They asked him specific and didn't give her a specific, and then when she did get a specific question, she danced around it. Yeah. She danced around it and then brought him back in the picture. When just say what you're gonna say, because I agree with Trump when it comes to the how she's already in office. She's in office now. What's stopping you now? Doing some of this stuff. At least getting it going, and then if you get elected, continue with it.
I feel you on that. I feel you on that.
Like at least getting it going. He said you've been there for 3 years, he ain't did it. But you got all these bright plans. What makes the American people think that she will just flip the switch once she get the promotion? What you know, like what makes the people think that's going to happen?
What was interesting to me, and my only response to you on that, and we done had our little differences on that, it was that it wasn't her ship to run. Now she's asking, let me be your captain, and I'm going to do some things. When she said that she was for fracking, I was surprised to hear that. I was.
She changed her mind.
So, yeah, she changed her mind. And then let me go on this right here, Kane. You know, when she said, okay, you know, Donald Trump did, let the Republican Congress know, hey, when that bill comes through, we shutting it down. We're not going to vote, even though it was a bipartisan bill, you know, and she gloated on that. Now, he did do that, but it's
he ain't
only
got no control over their vote.
Oh, well, he was going to be.
Come on, man. Are you serious?
Wait. Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Well, hold up.
Control.
Yes, he have that.
No,
Kane, he has that much power.
No,
yes.
he doesn't.
Look.
He doesn't.
Okay, you can say he doesn't. It's politics for a reason. Because
no,
this
that's
was
not
coming
politics.
Look,
you're just throwing out words right now.
No,
it's not
wait.
politics.
Allow me to speak.
Politics?
Look. Because they only did this because the election was coming up, so they needed to look harder on the border. So they put the bill out there. The election was coming up. So now they can say they hard on the border, and he did this. He told the Republican Party not to, because it would have been a win.
He is nobody right now, man.
They voted against it, though. They voted against it.
That ain't got nothing to do with him.
Everybody. It was a good bill.
How you know? Did you look at it? See, that's what
no.
I know you didn't look at it. I know you didn't look at it. I know you didn't look at it.
Both parties. Did you see it? No.
You did not. You can't speak on something you haven't looked at.
No, I didn't look at it. But they
All
said.
Right, so why are you repeating?
Just because
I
didn't look at it word for word. No, I know.
It's got to be the uncomfortable truth. So you can't be telling somebody.
He did not deny. Did he deny that? No, he did not.
Yes, he can.
No, he did not.
Say it.
What? You was already.
No, listen, hear me out.
Go.
He can say to all the Republicans, don't vote. Don't vote for that. I think it's terrible for the nation. He can say that all day long.
And what
he has no authority to stop their vote.
We're not saying that he has authority, but they fall in line.
Who?
Do they not?
Man, get out of here.
Come on.
Get
See,
out of here.
You tripping yourself.
That don't make any sense.
It doesn't have to make sense. It don't make sense to you. But
why don't you think that these why don't you think that these Republican congressmen can make their own decision without Trump? Why do you think they need Trump?
Some of them do.
Actually, what? So you're saying some
of them will go against him. Some of them will go against him
right now. I think you're not going with facts. Where's the facts at?
Because look. Let's look at this. How politics are made. And
it's not the politics, man.
It is politics. Look, because when a Republican is running for office, if Donald Trump approves them, usually they win. Usually they do good. He's not the president anymore, but when he gets that stamp of approval, that's the same thing, man. We done seen it when he was president or whatever. We see it on the Democratic side.
We're not talking that still doesn't make somebody vote for you.
He still has power. He still has power, whether you want to see that or not.
You're not getting where I'm coming from. You're not getting where I'm coming from.
You just saying, understand that you said he doesn't have the authority.
No,
we know he doesn't have the authority, but he can say, okay, hey, this is not in my favor. You know that I'm running for president. I'm going to have a harder bill for you to sign when I become president. Don't vote for this. It will hurt my campaign. This is a big thing that he's running for. So if they put a bill that's bipartisan, that looks halfway decent, shut it down. That's not fathomable. That you can't grasp that right there, Kane. Nope. That couldn't happen.
Nope.
Oh, come on, bro.
Because
man.
So basically you're saying that
I need somebody in the comments to say something.
I don't think nobody gonna say. I don't think nobody gonna say anything. But however, I think this is what I think. You're saying that our Congress doesn't have the gumption to make the right decision in any way, fashion.
No.
So basically, you're saying no. You gonna let me finish?
I know. I have to stop. I'm acting like you. Your spirit jumped in me. Your spirit jumped into me, man. Okay, go, bro.
Look. Okay. I'm just saying. You're saying that our congressmen that we elect these Republican congressmen and these Democratic congressmen. So there would be no different from Obama endorsing, Bill Clinton endorsing, anybody endorsing anything, right? They say, oh, man, that sounds good. I read it through. It sounds good. And they're going to follow the lead from somebody, not reading it themselves, not paying attention to themselves. They can't make their own decision. They have to follow behind somebody that's not in power right now. That's basically what we're saying. So basically, that is a threat to democracy, if anything. If you're saying that is happening, then our vote doesn't count. Right?
Kane, you are such an intelligent guy. I'll tell you what. I like how you put that. And that's a threat to democracy. Look how you turned that in. But
well, Kane, you might as well say it is.
Kane, it could be. It could be because
it is. If you're saying that's
not every decision, that's a point. That's
how
one.
Do you even know?
Thing.
You don't know everything, even though he publicly said it. But you don't know how they privately say things. So you don't even know that these former presidents or officials are swaying the vote of Congress.
Well, Kane, we don't know that, but I don't think Obama has a following. Like
how you know that
that crushes? He's not known for crushing.
I'm talking about the Democratic Congress. The Democratic Congress. You think they're not for Obama?
Yeah, they could be for Obama, but he has no part. Like he can't run again. Okay, because if you go against, but if you go against Trump and Trump becomes president or whatever, Trump can make or break people that's in the Republican Party that's going up for office re-election again. That is a fact right there. Speak crazy about.
I think this is all
Trump. I know, Noel. I mean, people, and we'll have to.
You ain't got no facts on this.
I don't have facts on this. Oh,
you got to go to C-SPAN and see what's been done.
That's my dog. Hey, come on, man. I think you might have got your feelings on this one. I don't know.
No, I'm just saying, like you act like. So I want to make sure that the congregation knows, and you're saying this is a threat because he, as easily as him getting at a rally, saying he goes to the rally and he says this is a threat. This is not a good bill. I got something better in the chamber, whatever, right?
No, man,
as easy as him saying that, and they vote in his favor. You're saying the reason why they voted in his favor is because of him, not because of their own ideology. You're saying that they are forced in some kind of way to do that. So that means it doesn't matter how we vote because there's somebody else that can sway the vote. That is a threat to democracy.
I understand what you're saying. You said it clear.
So you're perpetuating that this is what's happening, and that may sway voters not to vote because you're saying that this is what's happening, even though you don't know factually that particular Republican voted against it. The ones that you said that voted against it, that they did it because of his words. You don't know that specifically. But you're thinking just because he said it and they decided against it, that it happened.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. That's a thought.
Because behind closed doors is still things going on.
So, so now you're talking about behind closed doors. First, we were talking about the open door. He was open.
It could be open door, closed doors. Come on, Kane. We know it's backroom deals.
So now you're look.
Too much conspiracy.
Yeah. So now it's all conspiracy that our vote doesn't count. because somebody else can sway it, right?
You keep honing in on this. Our vote doesn't count. I understand what you're saying. They're in. That the Congress, they're already voting in. Okay. Now we know, president or not president, I don't think any other president or former president has had the type of power that former President Trump has had. And if he was president and he wants something to go down the line, you're going to get in line, or by next time, we're going to get somebody in there to replace you. That's as easy as can be. And that is the thing when I'm saying politics,
It sound good. It sound good, but you don't know if that's true.
But you don't either.
See how
Come on, man.
You got to be careful what you say to the public. This is uncomfortable truth, right? Be careful what you say.
It's not,
you talk about feelings. This ain't uncomfortable feelings. It's not uncomfortable feelings. This is uncomfortable truth. So
thank you. Great sound, though. I got you. Hey, but we going at it, boy. I tell you, you don't get this nowhere else. Be careful
what you say, because people, when it comes to voting in November, they may feel like, because you said that it doesn't matter. They follow behind this particular person, so no matter what, they're gonna follow whatever they say. If they endorse it because they want a job the next 4 years or whatever, right? They may say that. So now you're putting in the mind of the general public, like, well, what's the point? If I vote my local official congressman for Georgia or whatever, right? If I vote them in, it doesn't matter, because they're going to follow behind whatever somebody that's previously there did or said.
No, we're not just saying that, Kane. But
that's what you're saying that happened.
You vote somebody with Democratic views or conservative views in.
I get all that.
They usually vote towards the party. They usually get in line with the party. That's it. They kept bringing in John McCain, the former,
Well, that was your girl. Your girl brought her.
They brought him up a couple times, but
that was
known as for being a maverick. He would usually fall in line, but sometimes he'd be like, "No," he'll go across. I'm not voting for this.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
Maverick, yes, the maverick, yes. Sometimes he would do that.
That's what you're supposed to do.
It's not far-fetched, and it is uncomfortable truth. This is Mitch's thoughts on this. So it's no such deals that's behind closed doors. They don't just jump in line. But Kane, it's politics.
Okay. All right. Well, then if you said all that you said. Now, how do you explain to the young voter to vote? How do you explain?
You vote for the
Do you think they vote counts?
Yes, the vote counts. The vote counts. Yes, you vote for somebody that shares the values that mean something to you. That's always. You don't vote because of your mom, dad said to do this, like we did back in the day, like I did. No, you vote for somebody that speaks to your beliefs, and that's it. That's it. That's
I agree. I would vote with the beliefs and policies.
Yes.
And I would challenge you, if you're listening, congregation, I would challenge you to go to both of the websites. Read. Do not go with ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox News, or whomever. They will sway your mind in left and right directions. Go to the websites, and you know what they are. Just type the names in. You'll run right into them. Go to the websites and just read their policies. Mirror them. Put both of them up. Tabs on your and just look at what she says versus what he says. I'm not here to sway you in any direction. I just want you to be an informed voter. So please go to their websites, check that out, and then also listen to their rallies. not sound bites of the rallies. Listen to them. If you're swaying in Kamala's direction, listen to her rally. If you're swaying to Trump, listen to his. That's what I say. Now you're informed. You're hearing what they say. You see it in black and white on the internet or whatever, on their webpage. You can see it in black and white. Now, as time get closer, and I hope they have, just like you said, I hope they have debate.
They didn't do it.
I know there's going to be a debate with the VPs in October. In October is going to be I don't know the exact date. We have to look at that.
That'd probably be more exciting than what we just witnessed.
It may be. But like I said, be informed, you guys. I really appreciate you guys joining us. We didn't have too many of the comments or whatever, but that's fine. That's fine. Some people just want to watch and just listen and things of the nature. There's no right or wrong to that aspect or whatever, man. But I definitely appreciate your views, your viewership, checking us out, man. Guaranteed. Go ahead, bro.
No, I was just thinking it'd be interesting to pull up one of the stations just to see. I love watching after the debate to see how biased they are.
You want to check out one of them?
Just check out one of them to see.
Okay, let me see what we got. We may be able to. Who would you like to actually see? Let me bring it back up.
Yeah, just for a second.
Which news media?
I wouldn't mind anyone, but then I want Fox too. I don't know if they're gonna do a little coverage over.
Well, I want to tell the congregation too. You got to remember that the news is ran by a Democratic Party. It's. I know it may be hard to hear, but it's ran. So the ideology
is
NBC. Yes, NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN. They all are Democratic. They're not unbiased. They're biased towards the Democratic Party.
Let's look at.
All right. Well, let me. Which one you said? What did you say? CNN, NBC, ABC. Which one?
And CNN. That'll be
CNN.
fine.
All right. We'll bring up CNN.
Just a quick,
All right. Hold up.
I think they need to fine tune, but Trump gonna be Trump. If he could, some of the rhetoric he says, I laugh and chuckle at some of it, because that's just Trump being Trump. Let's see what he got.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the first 15 minutes of this debate, he won. The questions were on the economy. He had it right. He had it right on inflation. Even on the tariff question, I think he had it right. And then inexplicably on immigration, that's
oh man, golly,
where she derailed him. And from that point forward,
she derailed him.
She basically dictated the flow. Now, in the closing statements, when he said,
Van Jones,
why haven't you done it?
I know. He
that
might
really
still
should have permeated. That's his best argument. It really should have permeated everything. She peppered all of her answers with, I have a plan. I have a plan. He should have retorted every time. You've been there 3.5 years.
That seems like the only thing they worked out in advance, that he had sort of in his mind, okay, this is something we're going to say.
But look, she did not put a lot of meat on the bones. I agree she passed the competency test. She did tell some of her own lies, and she left some things out there. But overall, she dictated the flow.
I want to go to Caitlin Collins in the debate spin room with Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. Caitlin?
Yeah, thanks, Anderson. I'm here, and it is timely given we are talking with the Pennsylvania Governor, Josh Shapiro, about how Taylor Swift just came out and endorsed Kamala Harris. I know that you were claiming Taylor Swift is one of Pennsylvania's
Taylor
own.
Swift, the Berks County native.
Who is Taylor Swift?
We're here in Philadelphia.
She got millions and millions of followers.
What were your main takeaways?
I know, but she ain't no politician.
Because there remain quite a big questions about
they'll vote for
her.
Follow things.
Caitlin, I think we spoke a few weeks ago, and I expressed to you that I was a little bit worried the American people had a little bit of brain fog about Donald Trump. They didn't remember the chaos when he was in office. I think Kamala Harris wiped out that brain fog and reminded people of the chaos of Donald Trump, reminded them that he ripped away people's fundamental freedoms, particularly the freedom for millions of women across this country to just make decisions over their own bodies. She reminded them that here in Pennsylvania, he wants to take away health care from 1.2 million of my fellow Pennsylvanians.
You don't even have a plan yet.
He really has no plan on the economy.
Remember he said we'll
she
keep
reminded him just how
reminded
how
people
just how nonsensical he is, how divisive he is, how his rhetoric seeks to create others in our society and divide people instead of lifting everybody up. And I thought she made clear she wants to be a president for all Americans, laid out her vision, laid out her plans, and I thought she had a great night.
A lot of it seemed designed to try to get under Trump's skin. I mean, she was talking about his crown sizes. She was talking about his former officials who are now criticizing him. She brought up January 6th and all of these moments.
He cared.
And he did seem to take the bait. Even Trump advisors were saying that to me.
You talking
was
to
that
people
the
I fired?
strategy going into this debate for your party?
Well, look, only Kamala Harris knows what her strategy was on this, but I will tell you,
try to get him unraveled
because he's completely self-centered. He only cares about himself, and so instead of just ignoring a comment about crowd size, instead focusing on the needs of the crowd, the needs of the people that he was talking to, he could only focus on himself. He is someone who is so self-absorbed that he can't possibly do a good job for the American people.
She's still been underwater in latest polling in your home state. I mean, she's been doing better in Michigan and Wisconsin than she has in Pennsylvania, but still struggling a bit. And what we saw from polls, that voters wanted to know more about her. They still had questions about her. Yeah. Obviously, Donald Trump is a pretty well-known quantity. She obviously made the case against Donald Trump tonight, but do you think she laid out enough of her own plans in detail, for example, on how to end the war that's happening in Gaza? She talked about working around the clock, but no specifics on that.
Look, I thought she laid out comprehensive plans both on domestic and international policy, and every visit, every rally, everything she does going forward, she'll continue to flesh that out. I thought she had a really good night, and I thought she laid out what she needed to for the American people. Understand,
she
this
never
is
said
one piece.
I know neither one of them.
She would sit down.
To win,
she never
said
that she would sit down with
in other states as well, and I thought she had a good night. As for Pennsylvania, look, understand.
He said
it's always close.
They asked him what you
2016, it was 44,000 votes that divided the two candidates. 2020 was 80,000 votes. About a percentage point or less. I don't know, but we're no stranger to close elections. The good news is Kamala Harris understands that to pick up that last yard or two here in Pennsylvania is tough, but you got to show up. This is still a retail state. And so she's showing up to places like Beaver County. This week, she'll be in Wilkes-Barre. She's going to places that, quite frankly, often get ignored by national candidates. By showing up, she's not only able to lay out her plans, but she shows a level of respect to the good people of Pennsylvania.
Governor Josh Shapiro, I want to hand it over to Jake, who also has a question for you, your fellow Pennsylvanian.
Who knows Taylor Swift?
Well, first of all, well, that's right. Taylor Swift actually originally from right near the Reading Phillies, right?
Hey, you can't do Fox or whatever. Just to see.
First of all, the Phillies beat Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I can do that.
Just for a second.
He's not hearing. Okay. So ask him this: should the Harris campaign?
I'm muted so I can find it out here. Figure it.
Okay.
You said Fox.
Yes, I know some people might not like Fox, but I look at everybody. I at least try to look at everybody. I like doing that.
Yeah, but I don't even like listening to everybody because everybody are biased. So I like to listen to the candidates and listen to the actual what they say versus supposedly political analysts.
Right.
You know, we can analyze ourselves just like they can do it. We can analyze the candidate ourselves. So we can fact check. We can do all these things too. So
but when you look at a lot of the news, the different news agencies, they are always sometimes have that key word that everybody seems to use, or they all be talking about the same exact, like they have a script almost. That's what I find so interesting, and I just want it fair. Ask the same questions to each other, and then see we can rock with how we rock. Where the chips fall, that's where they fall.
I'm gonna tell you this. I thought that during I can tell, he was just looking forward and listening, right? I can tell she was looking down. And that's why I mentioned, I don't know if you heard me.
Oh, yeah. I did.
She's looking at her phone because somebody's texting her the next point or whatever, right? She's looking at her phone.
Come on,
because
now.
I guarantee. Hey, look, I guarantee that they're gonna let her have her phone because she's a VP, right? She got to have a phone. So And she can have it on silent. It don't have to vibrate, but she can just, make sure I'm looking for the text. Talk about this point. Talk about that point. Because she was looking. I could see her look down and look back up. Look down. Look. What are you looking at?
I don't know.
Right?
Hey, don't say nobody. Nobody's texting. Kane is not saying nobody's texting. No, come
I'll
on.
be the first.
We're not cheating now. Hey, yeah, I know. Hey, you got me thinking about. Hold on now.
Hey, I watched her. I said, why is she looking down?
And
what's she looking at? What could she be looking at while he's talking? Right?
Yeah, she did.
Talk about
times,
this. Talk about that. Yeah, man.
When the governor, I believe that was governor of Pennsylvania, when you said people wanted to know if she was competent, I don't even like seeing comments where our vice president is not a dumb. Anybody that makes it up to these levels, they're not dumb.
Mm-hmm.
So why do people just say that? Just
well,
I'm talking about any of these comments.
I'm gonna tell you why.
I mean, no, I want.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why.
Just go ahead.
Because they feel like some people get in the position because of who you know. Not to say that she, not to say that she, went above and beyond, that she may have done all those things, but also maybe, because I'm glad they didn't bring up her, relationships and stuff like that. Because some people say that she had relationships with certain people to move up, and so that's why they just saying, oh, you just got it because of whatever, right? That's a lot of people are saying that. So, but that's here nor there. I mean, we can't prove it, so why even bring it up or whatever? But I have Fox up here if you want to check it.
Just for a few minutes, man. That's it.
Okay. All right.
That was a pretty good line. It was my favorite moment of the debate. But she is a radical who is trying to run towards Donald Trump's positions because she knows that's what's popular, but it's not what she actually believes. And I think that if you go to her performance, Sean, the most striking part of it is if you actually listen to what she said, it was platitude after platitude after slogan. There was no substance.
It was.
How is she going
that's
to
why I was asking
more American citizens?
Rehearse, cliche, use everything that you want to say.
I agree with
the bottom line is fundamental. I hate Trump.
That's exactly right. And also, look, both of them have records. That's what's different about this election, almost any other election in my lifetime. You have two people with a record. Donald Trump is proud of his record. Kamala Harris is running away from her record because her record is higher grocery prices, homes that are unaffordable, a wide open southern border.
That makes so much sense.
If he could compose himself.
And all we need to remind the American people, and I think Donald Trump did a great job of this tonight, is the reason why these problems happen is because Kamala Harris failed to do her job.
The thing is, she's 50 days, and prior to tonight, she does one interview, no press conferences. You're out there every day. Between you and President Trump, you're nearing 50 combined.
Sure.
And it's still a mystery. It's like the candidate protection program, and the media keeps her in there. I have all of these files, the Kamala files, the Walls files, them in their own words. This was all available to ABC tonight. You said this about fracking. You said this about drilling. You said this about sex change operations that taxpayers pay for criminals and for illegal immigrants, free housing, healthcare, education for illegal immigrants, the elimination of private healthcare, all of these positions that she's taken, and it's amazing that we're this far, that we're this close to an election, we don't have these answers.
That's exactly right. Well, she's running a campaign based on vibes, and she's running for
vibes. What the hell is a vibe? Are we in the 60s?
Hold on.
It feels like it sometimes. I feel like watching Kamala
Harris. I always say that because you about feelings.
Disaster,
Mitch, you about feelings.
So, well, she said that.
The thing is, if you're the vice president,
what'd she say?
You've been in power for 3.5 years. Is she running by saying, "Look what we did to lower your grocery prices. Look what we did to make the world more secure"? She can't because her record is one of failure. And we just have to remind the American people of this, Sean. I mean, look, I think if you watch the debate, you're sitting at home, you're an undecided voter. What you saw is a person who repeats slogans instead of respecting you enough to treat you like an adult. You know, Donald Trump, and he gets criticized by the left for this, by the way. Donald Trump actually answers the questions because he respects the American people enough to treat them like citizens. That's why he does everyday debate. That's why he goes out there and talks to people, because he thinks he ought to try to win the people's vote, not just have it given to you.
She also told a lot of lies about Project 2025. Project 2025 is her radical agenda. For her.
Nobody, and still
a
nobody.
National abortion ban. That wasn't true. She lied
People
about,
are still saying
her saying
that
in
he's
2000. No,
for
I
it.
didn't say.
Even the Breakfast Club.
He clearly came across
mandatory
and
gun
said
buyback.
no.
She said at the end
but
of the debate.
I wish they
"Oh,
would have
no,
hit
I
on
never
some
said
of that.
Yeah, I'm a gun owner. I'm like, that is exactly what you said. Yes, you did. It's on tape. We have it. We played it.
That's right. Well, that's the entire trick here, right? Is the media is helping Kamala Harris run away from a record, but we have her on tape saying all these things, Sean. And by the way, when she said that she supported a ban on fracking, then she changed her view in 2020, that's another complete fabrication. She has never once changed her view that she wanted to ban fracking.
Well, she said it
You're
today,
an American.
She became the presumptive nominee.
Well, that's right. She changed her mind in 2024, but not in 2020. So another complete fabrication.
That's
but
why
think
I was
about this.
surprised.
If you're a Pennsylvania energy worker, or you're an American suffering from high utility and energy bills, Kamala Harris is telling you she wants to make you pay more, and she wants to put these energy workers out of a job. It's a disgrace, but it's what she said in her own words. And we've got a record of success to run on. We just have to keep on doing it.
Let me ask you this, because I think this is very important. So with 56 days, but we have early voting. We're 1 week away where early voting starts here in Pennsylvania. You're spending a lot of time in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania.
See, that's why he wants to change this voting stuff.
You know,
early voting.
To what extent has
no
has
IDs and stuff like
statements and
voter
radical
IDs. That's what he wants.
penetrated the
You go to his
consciousness of the American
website. That's
people?
what he says.
Look, I think they've penetrated a little bit, and it's our job over the remaining 56
Everybody
days of
got
the
an
campaign.
ID.
You're right, early voting starts in just a couple of weeks. It's our job to make it penetrate. John, we have to do this every single day. We have to remind the American people.
But they really
This is
need
not complicated. We
to
just have to tell the truth. Kamala Harris wanted to ban fracking. She wanted to defund the police. She said it all on video.
But she didn't agree
we just have
to
to
it,
remind
though.
people of what she
He
said.
gave
By the
her
way,
3
Sean,
days.
it's
This
not
was
just
one.
reminding people what she said.
He said, I
It's
can do this
reminding
day,
what
this
Donald
day, and
Trump
this day.
did and has plans to do again. We had
And one of them is Fox
prosperity.
News. He
We
said,
had
I want
peace.
one of them
We
to
had
be
the
Fox
American
News.
dream that started to feel
Ooh,
alive again
that'll be-
thanks to Donald Trump's leadership. Sean, you know I believe this. I think
I
we have
wish
the
you
best
would do it. I
workers,
wish you
the
would
best
do it.
history and cultural traditions in
nobody,
the world.
you know,
We've got
he
the
said
best
it, though,
natural
on
resources in the
TV.
most
So it's
beautiful
recorded.
country. We have got failed leadership
can do,
that is ruining our
September
great
10th.
inheritance
He
as a
said,
country.
I sent you
We
the
just need
text,
better
too.
leadership. It's
You
that
don't
Yeah.
simple.
But you see, it hasn't
As soon
said
as I heard
anything.
it, seeing you out on the campaign trail.
So what?
Yeah, I
All right,
remember
one issue
that, but
did get a lot of attention from
Let me see
ABC's
what
far-left
happens,
moderators was the weaponization of our Department of Justice. Donald Trump still made it a point of emphasis. Take a look.
Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that
faces
came
be
down
getting
just
me,
recently
boy.
from the Supreme
She
Court.
owned it.
I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
All right, joining us now,
anything
someone who knows
you mention
firsthand
Kennedy
about the
Willis'
weaponization
name.
of justice, live from the spin room,
Man,
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Great to see you. How are you?
Good to see you, Sean.
You left your party, a party that was
he
near and
running
dear
on his
to
own.
Your father.
No, he
to
said
your uncle.
he dropped out of the race.
He dropped good.
Has
Okay,
no
good.
resemblance to the Democratic
Yeah, he
Party
dropped out
today.
and he's endorsed
And
Trump.
This is the frustrating part about tonight. The
Yeah, he was running as an
radicalization,
independent,
the
and he
views
just
stated
dropped
by
out.
Kamala. You know, they weren't asked by the moderators. To me, it was a failed opportunity. I think the American people were failed tonight. There was
Yeah, I was disappointed by the evident bias of the moderators who were fact-checking constantly, kind of trivialities.
Yeah, it was some.
I think it was, bro.
I said, well, did you see? Was it fair?
Harris,
Or was it really
That's
biased?
what we're talking about, bias. It wasn't
I know.
fair. It was more so
the party of Robert Kennedy
helping her
and John
out
Kennedy was
than
the
it
party
was,
of peace. It was the party
you
of
know, helping
This
him
is
out.
the corporate subversion of American democracy. It was the party of civil rights and constitutional rights, particularly censorship. Very opposed to censorship
All she
and
kept talking
surveillance.
about is $6,000 and home tax. That's all she kept talking about the whole
the most
time.
vulnerable people in our society, including.
But she ain't say nothing. How she gonna drop the prices of everything?
Right. Neither one of them going to go into everything that they can do.
Censorship.
They just had to get out there and
we
talk.
Dick Cheney and John Bolton endorsed.
I get he's been saying you ain't been watching.
Endorsed Vice President Harris this week.
Let me do this because
they came out of exile.
Because I think you're the typical voter. I think you're the typical voter.
What you going to bring up his website?
No, I ain't bringing up no website. I ain't bringing up no website. I'm just saying that what's he has on it during his rallies. During his rallies, he has spoken on how he would fix the inflation. He had an actual press conference where he came outside and he had all kind of food next to him, to the left and to the right, talking about the groceries and all of that, and how he had a plan on how he would fix the economy and how inflation is ridiculous. Can you tell me, Mitch, and you can tell the congregation too, how can she fix
look
the economy? What has she said to fix the current economy? I get it. You say that
we're gonna
she
get
ain't the president, so she ain't had no authority.
Wait.
Well, hold on. What are you saying? Have some babies?
Yeah, that'll give you a tax credit.
Hey, so they give you $6,000, but you're gonna pay it towards these high eggs and high gas.
Well, look, okay. Joking right now. No, she hasn't said anything. She hasn't said anything.
So that's what I'm talking about.
That's
why I think that's what I think that the American people have to put her to the fire. You have to. You can't just let this all slide by because you got your feelings. Everything feels good.
I think, man, look, on this whole thing right here, I think they can both look at this and critique themselves, and people will show them their faults. I think they owe everybody, especially because the race is not a big, nobody has a big lead. He doesn't have a big lead. They're close. And she hasn't been doing interviews or anything like that. So with this debate, I don't think that won anybody over.
She avoided press.
Yes, but it's working.
Well, this is the reason why, and I don't know how true this is, and I'll just say this: I don't know how true.
Do you want to?
In one of the don't be messy. Don't be messy.
Hey, yes.
Hey, I heard that Trump say that Kamala has friends with ABC, and and that's the reason why he wanted more than one network. Has friends, and she probably get the questions right, beforehand and be able to prep for it. So I don't know how true that is. Maybe said, oh yeah, they best friends with the CEO of ABC or whatever. Maybe that may be the case. Ain't no telling. But still, though, if she did get it or if she didn't get it, we gotta put out the facts that she hasn't told everybody how she's gonna fix the mess that she's currently in.
Yeah, well, we are in a mess.
We are in the mess, and she's part of the administration that made the mess. So how does she clean up the mess? If you're saying that she has no authority in this mess, then how does she clean up the mess? And she hasn't said it.
Opportunity.
Because the reason why she's not saying, I'm gonna tell you why she's not saying it.
Go ahead. What's up? What you think?
The reason why she's not saying it is because if she said it, then that means she should already be doing it. So why say something that you're going to do when you're already in a position where you can do it, or you can actually tell have a meeting and bring this up in the meeting that, hey, I
Now
think
that would be great. Yeah. Now
that would be great. So that's why I said,
yeah.
That's what I said when they have these, because I'm guaranteed they have meetings between each other or whatever, right? And when they come to the meeting and say, hey, I'm running for this. Let's start this so I can move with this for the, why not?
Yeah. Oh,
you disagree?
No, I agree, because I mean, to even put something out there, and to me, that'd be looking more presidential. Man, we might need to go ahead and really, really rally around her, because at first we know they didn't rally around her. They didn't, but they got on board. A lot of people didn't
know who she was. No, a lot of people
got on board though. But they got on board.
Yeah, it's only and congregation, please do not do identity politics. Do not vote for somebody because of the color of their skin.
Yeah.
Do not do that. Do not do that. It's just like your boy said, content of your character, right? What you got in place to help the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
What are the things? Because if you look back at Trump's record and the things that he said he was going to do and the things that he did, did he go back on his promises? Did he go back? Did you say, oh, you said you're going to do this, but you never did? Is he that type of president? Look at the policies. No matter, he likes to joke, he likes to throw jabs, whatever.
No, he will be petty. He will be petty. Yes.
Yeah, that's his sense of humor. But when it comes to getting down to business, is he lacking? Is he lacking, congregation? In the chat, man, is he lacking? If he lacking, just say so. But if he's doing, and check out the little, it's a little compilation of all the things that he has done, and we placed it in the, it's on, I think a short, not even a short, it's like maybe 2 or 3 minutes long. It's a compilation of the things from 2016 to 2020. Like, how are things, especially if you want to look back from 2016 to 2020, how are things for you personally? Personally, how are things for you? Was it bad like it is now? Do you feel like, man, you can't even, just like, and I brought this up. Remember, Mitch, man, I brought this up. I was like, I bought a house in Trump administration. You bought a house in Biden administration.
Listen,
do we know the difference?
Oh, we know the difference. That payment, that interest rate. Oh, man.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Man. It makes a difference, right?
Oh, it makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Huge. That's money in your pocket.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, even though we, but you see the difference though.
Yeah.
A lot of people won't say that or don't even want to think back. And a lot of people easily forget because, like what you're saying, January 6th, which is the very tail end of his administration.
Right.
Very tail, like 2 weeks before he was gone.
Yeah.
And then everybody talks about that, and they talk about well, at the beginning, they all brought about the Russian collusion, and that was just a bunch of mess the whole time, even though it was unfounded and all that other stuff. But they stuck with it. And then they went to the like it was his fault that incident happening at the Virginia College down at the with the so-called tiki torches, right?
Yeah.
Like it was his fault or whatever, right? They blame him for that, right? So, and you're saying that those things right there discredit him for the whole 4 years. And then, but at the same time, you can look at all the things that are happening with your finance, the inflation, the Afghan withdrawal, this doggone thing that happened last year with Israel and Palestine, and then you got the whole thing with Russia.
Russia and Ukraine.
I mean, we're talking about a lot here.
Yeah,
that's going on through that. It ain't even been 4 years. Can we say the same things for Trump that you are disgusted with? Because a lot of people are disgusted by Trump.
Yes, they say it. Come on.
What? Because of what? No, I'm just saying that they are disgusted with him. But for what reason? Between 2016 and 2020, what can you say that went wrong for you and your family that hit home? And because a lot of things are hit home, especially with their withdrawal. That'll hit home because maybe you lost someone in their withdrawal. Yeah. That'll hit home. Military, we military.
Oh, just being military and seeing what happened, what transpired.
Yes, we military. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, it's ridiculous. We was over there. You was in Afghanistan. I was in Iraq.
Kandahar, Bagram. Come on, all of these places.
I was in Baghdad, man. Come on, man. That's what I'm talking about.
Well,
so like I say, when you're looking at these and you're comparing what has already been, which is 2016 to 2020, and compare what is currently in action. Now, if you feel like her hands are tied and she's just a puppet that's going along with it, and she's going to make a brand new difference under Biden, when she gets out from under Biden's cape or whatever, and she does flourish.
Her own administration. Yeah. Okay.
Why is it that so you're saying that she has no authority now? That belittles everything that people think about a vice president, because if you have all these bright ideas, let's knock it out now. Let's knock it out right now. Let's start it.
What you're saying.
So that's what I'm saying. If you start
now that would be something.
If I start the engine, I'm ready to rock and roll, right? But I can't roll unless I get the gas. And how I'm gonna get the gas? Y'all gotta vote for me so we can move it on.
Yes.
So why she hasn't done this?
Right, because he's worried about campaigning, different things of that nature. I mean, we let's just try. Wait, don't give her excuses. Not trying to give excuses, but that would be something right there. Hey, while I got this, I'm going to try to do this right here. We're gonna try, man. There's people see that. Oh man, that might be something right there. That could be something. But everything you just said and what I'm thinking right now, Kane, is people continue to be led by their feelings and vote with their feelings. Because I will say this, we hear so much about 2025, and I'll talk to a couple people today. We are not going back to slavery. I don't understand why people say that. I just put it out there right now. That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. So do what he said. You can go, because people stay on Facebook, TikTok, and everything else. You can go to both of their platforms and see what they say. Just see what they say and see if you agree. See which side you tend to agree on.
Yeah.
Get past the name of Trump. Get past Harris' name. Vice versa, it doesn't matter. And see who your values fall in. Like he said, was you doing better when Trump was in office, making more money and things of that nature, more stable than where you're at today? Are you working another job, working harder to try to pay your bills for real? And go with that. That's all. I'm done, Kane. I'm done. Hey, Kane took me through some emotions today, y'all. They said facts over feelings.
Won't it do it? Won't it do it?
There you go. Hey, hold on. No, don't you do that. Let's go.
For sure. Congregation, man, what y'all think, man? Look. We ain't got too many comments in this joint. Or I should say chats. I didn't even look at the comments. And maybe some, maybe later or whatever when we post this joint or whatever. But man, what do y'all think? I know we put a poll out. Who do they think is going to win before it even happened or whatever? Some people voted, some people didn't or whatever. But let us know what you think about this this debate. Should we do another one? Should there be another one for the presidential? Like I said, the VP is going to do it in October, but should there be another one before the VP? Just do another one. Maybe in a couple of weeks. Let them get their bearings together, because I guarantee Trump been doing all kind of interviews, all kind from social media, dude, to press conferences, to everything, and so is JD Vance. But
we gotta try to see if he'll
Kamala
interview with
ain't
the
doing
Crimson
anything.
Brothers. We gotta see if we can get him on the Crimson. He probably go, hey, I'll do it. Hey.
Yeah, why not?
He'll roll tide.
Kamala, she ain't did but one.
Yeah,
and that was recorded. It wasn't live.
She was with
somebody,
scripted, right?
It was edited, and it was with the VP.
What's going on?
But
she can hold her own. She can hold her own now.
Well, why she hasn't?
I don't know why that first interview to have. Maybe she was
give her all this confidence.
She was introducing her VP pick with her when she was doing that. That's the only thing I could think of that she would have.
Yeah,
What
that doesn't need to happen, because did Trump do that with JD Vance? Vance is going out there doing all kind of interviews with all the networks. She should go ahead and go with all the networks, because majority of them are liberal. So if majority of them liberal, they're gonna be on your side anyway. Just do them. So she got the upper hand anyway when it comes to media.
It would be wild if she took a hostile interview, and that hostile interview would probably be with Fox News or whatever.
That's the only one. That's the only network.
I know.
Yeah, only network that will challenge her. That's the only one. All the rest of them are on her side. So that's what I'm saying. Why not do those? Do the easy ones.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll stay tuned.
Do a town hall with your sorority sisters or whatever.
Hey.
They ain't even did that.
Is that ski week? I don't know which one. I don't know. Hey, I might have got it wrong. Hey, hold on. Trump said, I think she was with one of her sororities or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, Trump, wow. Hey, wow.
Yeah. They actually interviewing him right now, man. I don't know if you want to check that out. I don't know.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, he's right there.
Just see this. Hey.
That's why she wants to confiscate. I called her out on everything that you said.
You see my boy Vivek in the background.
With all of that being said, I was amazed, because I really thought that'd be fair. I have to say, CNN a few weeks ago was sort of fair against Biden, but this one was stacked. I figured it would be after watching 100% positive coverage of her, and she's done a terrible job as vice president. And look, she's the worst vice president we've ever had. She was the border czar, the worst border ever in the history of the world, not just in our country. And he's the worst president we've ever had.
So
they're destroying our country.
I'm very aware. And if we look at her tax plan, which is, price gauging or gouging, and the largest tax increase not only in American history, but world history. Her campaign is saying tonight, Washington Post is reporting that she wants a second debate. What's your answer?
She lost.
What?
She wants it because she lost.
Do you have an answer?
Well, I don't know. I have to think about it. But if you won the debate, I sort of think maybe I shouldn't do it. Why should I do another debate? She immediately said, we want another debate. That's, you know what happens when you're a prize fighter and you lose? You immediately want a new fight.
You want a rematch.
You want a rematch. The guy that won is sort of happy and thinking about it.
Would you be inclined to say yes, or
maybe if it was on a fair network, I would do that. But
I think let Hannity moderate it.
Yeah, no, I think
like I did Newsom and Ron DeSantis.
I think it would be fair. You would be fair, actually.
I would be
you
fair.
Want to know the truth?
I'd let you both talk. I'd let you go at each other.
I thought they would be fair. They weren't, but I felt very comfortable.
Yeah.
We have the best policy. She has no policy.
You know, one thing that interested me, because I've known you for a long time, and one of the things that I was watching in you tonight is that you were all business. You know, a lot of times when you're at your rallies or we do a town hall.
Sean, they're destroying our country.
Is that what it was? Is it the seriousness of the moment?
There's nothing to smile about.
You see Vivek in the background,
I'm a good smiler.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to smile about. They're destroying. We have 21 million people that have been released into our country, and many of them are criminals and terrorists and people
Laken
from
Riley,
mental institutions.
Rachel Morin, Jocelyn Nungary. I list
Wonder
all these
Woman.
names on the show of people murdered, people raped, people victims of violent crime, names a lot of people never heard of. You've called Laken Riley's family.
I did. I was with them.
Who else you've met other families? You met the families of
I met them all.
Afghanistan.
Nungary. I met.
You met Nungary's family.
Yeah, I met 5 or 6 of them. Not even talking about the 13 soldiers that were killed in Afghanistan, the families of the 13 soldiers, which Biden won't even talk to, and he's the one that caused their death. Just as if he had a pistol in his hand, he and her caused their death. Just as if literally they had a gun in their hand.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. When you're in a situation like that, what is going through your mind? What goes on behind the scenes? How do you prepare for your debates?
Well, I think you sort of, I always say I've been preparing all my life for these debates. You know, you can't go in like she did. She goes into a room and she memorized lines, more or less. I thought I got one cute one. I'm talking where I said, I'm talking. And she started interrupting me.
Sir, he remember everything, but he,
yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice what she did. But no, I thought it was, we're getting great reviews.
It's interesting.
But, you know, he can
one
freestyle
line that really stuck out, that did make me laugh out loud, is when you said you're going to send her a MAGA hat. There are a lot of positions now, all of a sudden, she's come over to your side. She's been against the border wall. She's been against...
There's only one problem. Yeah. If she ever won, immediately from the day after that election, everything would go back to confiscate your guns and forget about oil
That
and
stuff
everything
right there,
else.
he should say
They
that.
were cutting back on oil way back. They got rid of Anwar, the biggest oil site perhaps in the world.
He wants to bring up gun
they
control.
did things that are so
They
bad,
never brought it up.
Not confiscate the guns,
energy
though.
prices started doubling up, and she immediately went back to the Trump plan. But I would have been now 4 times higher than they are right now, because that was 3.5 years ago.
How can they control
When
it?
she cut it, she cut everything out.
If
She
you
went
can't
to
take the
wind and
weapons
went to all
away,
this other stuff
that's already out
doesn't
there.
work
I get
from
it
an economic
for the new
standpoint, and
people,
even a
but
visual standpoint.
the new
I don't
buyer,
get the wind. You
what
take
about the
these
old
gorgeous
people that already
plains
got
and
guns?
deserts and all this stuff. They
Confiscate
put
them.
these windmills up. They go up like a 30-story building in some cases. They destroy everything. They cut out all, and the environmentalists say, aren't they wonderful? But it's the most expensive form of energy, and it's never going to do for our country.
So if we look at the issues on the economy, on immigration, on law and order, on energy, and America's role in the world, is there anything you could point to that you would say they have been successful on?
No, they have been unsuccessful at everything. And even the economy, I said, as part of the economy, you've let 21 million people, more than that, I think, with all the gotaways.
By the
That's
way,
killing our
including known
economy.
terrorists, and we do have the murders and the rapes and the violent crimes.
Oh, and you haven't seen anything yet. Wait till you see it in the months to come.
You know what scares me, and I've said this on the air, is by having open borders, unvetted illegal immigrants, that I don't think it's a matter of if, I think it's a matter of when that this country is going to be attacked.
If you look at Springfield, Ohio, look at what's happening there. You look at Aurora in Colorado, these beautiful little towns and little cities, small cities, they're being taken over by illegal migrants. I mean, they're people that poured in, and they have weapons like our military doesn't have. You know, they have AK-47s. They have weapons like our military doesn't have. And, you know, some sheriff in one of these towns where he's got 2 deputies and they're not into this. There's no way they can protect the people from this. But look at what's going on in Springfield today. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
We really appreciate it. People are calling for you to roll. What made you come to the spin room?
I just felt I wanted to. I was very happy with the result. It's a very unfair situation. They've weaponized our government politically, so I mean that's unfair. And I just felt we had a great night.
Rehashing some
and
of
I'd come over here. I actually gave a little bit of a news conference. We were swarmed.
By the way, I could hear it. You were interrupting my show, by the way, just for the record.
I had to come over and do yours. I would hate like heck to leave here, and I didn't do
No, I'd be mad.
I
would take that as a personal offense.
I would
no
have been
doubt.
in big trouble.
All right, so no answer on their offer for a second debate.
Again, the reason you do a second debate is if you lose, and they lost. And we looked at one poll, it was 92 to 7.
Yeah.
We looked at another one, 86 to 3.
He will.
He should.
We have
I think so.
And
all of
it
these
should
results
be.
coming in.
I don't think he
should
is
be
clear
moderated by
won
Fox.
the debate.
Mr. President, thank you for
very
taking
much.
time. We
I
really
think they ought to
appreciate
have
it.
a Fox moderator and
By the way,
somebody
tomorrow,
else.
by the way, you're going to be on Fox and Friends tomorrow.
I am indeed.
And maybe
6:45 in the morning.
Oh boy!
And then I'm going down to.
You're going to get a lot of sleep tonight.
Then I'm going down to the World Trade Center to honor the people that died September 11th.
You know what scares me? We have known terrorists in the country.
Yeah.
And we don't know where they are. And we don't even know about the gotaways.
More than
that's
we've
been the
ever
case
had
forever.
before, times 10.
Scary.
Yep. Scary.
All right. President
That was
Trump will be on
good,
Fox
gang.
and Friends
I
tomorrow
appreciate
morning.
that.
We'll have with more reaction to the debate from tonight. Be sure to tune in as we continue. We're
It's
live.
always
We're in
getting
Philadelphia. We're
so
in
maybe the VP debate be more a little fire because they got to really introduce themselves like they pit bulls and JD. He gonna have his energy and everything. I was surprised to see him actually breaking down the interview with Hannity right there of the debate. But and what's let me see, hers is Waltz or and he should he's known to be a spitfire too. You know,
I don't know.
the coach.
I don't know.
Hey,
I don't know if you remember watching him in his little speech. Everything was analogies of footballs.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. So we got the Marine, the coach. So it might be some fire. It might be some fire. Hopefully not too bad. But
we'll see. We'll see. Congregation, if y'all got anything, and man, in the comments or the chat or whatever, man, just let us know. Even if you do put a comment later because you didn't watch this live, I know some people got things to do. They said I'll check it out later or whatever. But we'll respond. And definitely, especially if you have any questions for us or you just had a comment, guaranteed. Just let us know. Anything else, man? We can go and wrap this up, man. I know we've been on here for quite some time.
Yeah, but it was enjoyable. The debate we had amongst each other might have been a little tough, better than theirs. I mean, good gracious,
What?
It's all good.
Yeah, for sure, man. I want to give a shout out to definitely to YouTube, Wonder Woman, because she's
Wonder Woman.
She was definitely in the comments. But definitely YouTube, Twitch, because we're streaming on Twitch. So if you Twitch personnel, man, shout out to you guys, and also on Rumble, you guys too. I know we streaming out to all those platforms, and appreciate you guys joining us and checking us out, and hope to see you in the future, man. But as of right now, we'll go ahead and close shop, man. Thank you for all you do. Give us a thumbs up, man, if you made it this far. Definitely, if you made it this far, give us a thumbs up. And that's the uncomfortable truth. Hey, baby,
do some. Roger that. Let's go.
For sure.